I speak to the mortgage advisor, Sally Mitchell, who's also a broker and business manager at the Mortgage Mum website. Hello, Sally.
Hi there.
What kind of traffic are you getting? You know, what kind of questions are you getting from people at the moment and all of this?
How on earth am I going to afford my new mortgage?
Yeah.
How, when should I be looking at what's on the market? What are my options? How on earth can I try and mitigate some of this extra expense? Because it's hitting everybody. I mean, it's 1.5 million people are on fixes that are coming to an end by the end of this year. That's a lot of households. It
is a lot of households, isn't it? And in fact, I saw a stat earlier on that I was mentioning. We could be talking about almost 2.5 million people seeing their fixed mortgages ending before the next election if it goes,
right,
the full term, which leaves a kind of political situation in there as well, obviously, but purely financial. When you were saying about when can I try and fix a new deal, I think I'm right in saying that you can actually start talking to a broker, start getting the wheels in motion a good few months before your term comes to an end, can't you?
Yeah, we're in touch with our clients 6 months before the end of their current fix. Especially in this market, it's always good to have a really good MOT of where they're going, what they need, how their lives have changed since you last discussed having a mortgage product or a fix. And also, let's scour the market for the very best deals. And as things have been going up so much in the last few months, the sooner you lock into a deal, the better, because you can always change it. If things get better, if things improve, then you can move to a better rate. But once that rate's gone, it's gone. And so many people have missed out by not acting. And now they're looking at 6% instead of 4.4.
Yeah.
So, you've got to attack it in a way and have a good broker by your side who's going to do all the legwork, because it's hard. Yeah. It's complicated.
Try and get someone you can trust that they've got your interests at heart.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've got a question from a listener here saying my fixed rate runs out at the end of October. They say, should I fix or get a tracker? But I suppose there's a sort of broader context thing there, isn't it? What are the circumstances in which someone might choose to fix or choose to get a tracker more broadly?
Yeah. Basically, with a fix, you are committing to a certain time period of being tied in. If anything changes and you want to break that contract, then you will have early repayment charges, ERCs, levied against you. They can run into the thousands depending on how soon into the contract you change your mind. So with a tracker, there are no ERCs. It's a more expensive rate, but it gives you that flexibility. So for some people who are looking to sell, or waiting for a bonus, or, for all sorts of reasons, sometimes that does make sense.
If you're saying it is a higher rate, obviously, for the benefits that you get in respect of what you've just described there with the tracker, if we're saying a typical 2-year fixed mortgage deal now has a rate of more than 6%, what kind of thing would you be looking at as a tracker, a reasonable kind of tracker rate?
Yeah, into the sevens, really, because they normally track a couple of points above the Bank of England base rate. The problem with the tracker as well is that you are absolutely at the mercy of what the market does in terms of the basic interest rate. So if we get an increase on Thursday, which, I think it's fairly certain that we will, then everybody who's on a tracker will see, their rate affected.
Yeah.
So I've had clients who have been on trackers that seemed like a really great idea a couple of years ago. And they're saying to me, every 3 months, I'm getting a letter saying, for the next 3 months, your rate is going to be X, Y, Z. And it's really high.
You're locked at, It's not easy, is it? Well, it's not easy in any of these circumstances at the moment. And of course, the big question for anyone looking at all of this is to try and make an assessment of how long this is going to go on for. I mean, and I mean rates around 6%. I mean, we're not going to see anything going back to what they were a couple of years ago, are we? But, even back down to sort of, I don't know, below 5%, I suppose.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, when things hit 3, 4, we thought, oh, crikey. Now it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I've read a lot of articles where experts predict, and, I say, these are proper experts, not just John down the pub. They say that we're not going to see rates going down to, let's say, 4.5%, which is going to be considered apparently the new norm. That shouldn't happen until late 2027.
Wow.
Now, I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to say late 2024.
No, I'm really sorry. But of course, between now and then, we might see some massive fluctuations. We already have since the mini budget. Things went bonkers. Then they started to settle. The market got a grip. Swap rates started to go down. And even though we've had all these base rate hikes, we did see much, much better rates coming through. Then suddenly, after the inflation figure came out last week, the market lost confidence and it just went whoosh again. So it's affected by an awful lot of factors.
Can I just ask a very quick one just before we go as well? Because people will say, some people listening will go 6%. I remember 12, 13%. And you always hear this, don't you? But just explain, because why is 6% different now in 2023? Because we're talking about the amounts that people typically now borrow, and the loan to value ratio is that much higher, isn't it? In terms of the burden, not the burden, but the responsibility that people have taken on ultimately.
It's now the biggest single expenditure of a household. Not that long ago, a couple of decades ago, people were borrowing about twice what they earned in a year. Now, the very basic is 4.5 times, which just shows you how property has increased. So the sheer volume of money, the amount of money that's a debt around someone's neck effectively it's just very, very big nowadays, and it's it takes a lot to service it, so it's scary.
And some people would have been lulled into it, wouldn't they, with the low interest rates, to take on more.
Definitely. I mean, it's really interesting because we had quite a depressed start to the year, if you like, with first-time buyers thinking, things are going to come down. I don't want to fix at a high rate now. But they're coming back now. Okay. And when I say to them, what's made you change your mind? They said, well, everyone's, banging on about these awful rates, but I don't know any different. I've never experienced a house on those rates. So if I can afford it, it's time for me to buy.
Sally,
which is quite nice.
Thank you. Mortgage advisor Sally Mitchell, who's a broker and business manager at the Mortgage Mum website. It is 6:37. It's 5 Live. Time to get the news headlines.